how we going, guys? Welcome back to the Freedom Network podcast. My name is Josh Blanchard. Unfortunately, Mitch can't be with us today, but I'm joined by Nate Whaley from the Higher Light. Thanks for joining us, brother.
Hey, mate. How are you?
Fantastic, man. Good to have you on. Good to get this chat going. We've been trying to get it going for a while now, but just haven't had things pop up and stuff. So it's
always about timing, and it's one of the challenges of getting podcast guests, and especially people around the place, is just getting it all dialed in and making it happen like on a specific day. It is one. Scheduling is a challenge.
Definitely. Yeah. So how you been anyway, man? I just thought maybe if you could just give us a little backstory about yourself for the listeners that have never heard of you.
Sure. My name's Nate Whaley. I'm from Sydney, Australia. I'm about 40 years old. I have three kids, Sam, Harvey, and Charlie. I have a little baby girl who's 18 months old and a partner, Steph. I live on the Central Coast and I work for a stone manufacturing company and a kitchen company. I'm a bit of an all-rounder in that company. I work with my mate. Outside of that, I'm the podcast host of The Higher Light on most channels. And I interview interesting people and put interests into different sort of categories of thought and try and give them to people in a nice tapestry of different things. And that's what I do for fun. And then I've also got another business, which is a therapy business. So I help people with, and that's called The Art of Heart. And that's just about helping people get to a better place in their life.
Wow, that's awesome. You got a lot going on there, bro. Like, how do you manage to, deal with all that and not, get too stressed out and stuff?
At the moment, I'm just preparing for everything that's coming. So this morning at about 5 something, it's my day off. It's my podcast day. So I got up and I had a fire that I made last night in my backyard and it was out. So I spent probably all of about 30, 40 minutes in the cold, shivering, trying to start a fire that I didn't need to, for the sheer fact that one day I might have to, and it might be my last match. And can I do it? So I'm just doing things for fun under no pressure that I'll have to do later under pressure.
Yeah, it's a great way to, to go about things at the moment, getting yourself prepared, putting yourselves in them sticky situations and just, sorry, I just put my phone on silent and just went off.
That's fine, bro.
But yeah, I 100% agree with you there, bro. We've become too comfortable with different, things in life. And, I think especially at a point in time like we're in at the moment, with this a bit of a lull and stuff, it's sort of just gone back to normal. It's a great time to be testing yourself and putting yourself in them situations which are, a little bit unfamiliar, a little bit difficult. And but it's really going to set you up for what's to come, because ultimately we don't really know what's to come, but we could be in situations where, you got to do things you've never done before.
I work really hard during the week to accumulate the things that I need, that, in other words, like I enjoy my life, I eat nice food, I hang out with my family, I have nice little things that I enjoy. But outside of that, like, most of my life is just around trying to help other people, because I know a lot of people need help right now. And that also in turn is like a selfless way to be selfish, because you get to feel good as well on the inside when you help people. So I spend a lot of my time kind of doing that stuff, and I just try and be balanced in the way that I am. So more than anything, I'm trying to live what I preach. So if I'm going to talk about being outdoors, I'm going to go and do it. There's no point having a swag and waiting till the world melts and then having to roll it and realize that you've actually got to have it wet a couple of times for it to waterproof and different stuff like that, right? So it's better to be prepared for things and actually know what's going on. And I'm not a crazy prepper, but I'll tell you now, if you've got kids and you don't have a realistic understanding of what you need to get food, it takes about 3 days for the supply chain to break down. And I mean, that's no food. right?
Yeah,
So if you're an adult and you've got kids, you need to step up and actually realize that they're your responsibility beyond any state or anyone else's help.
Yeah, people have just become so dependent on these, all the programming and just, everything is at our doorstep. We've become comfortable with being lazy and just being able to get things at a drop of a hat sort of thing, and it's going to be a real test for a lot of people. They've never been in a situation like this. Like, it's like I said, that they've always just had everything at their doorstep sort of thing. So yeah, I urge anyone who is awake and knows what's going on to really start preparing for what's to come. Like Nate said, you don't have to be a crazy prepper and that, but just doing little things to challenge yourself, to put yourself in them situations where you might find yourself in one day. So it's probably going to be sooner rather than later. What do you think?
Two alarming things happened in the last 24 hours. We lost 110 billion off the Australian Stock Exchange. And there was an announcement that all 5 states had a power supply issue, and that there could be an imminent outage for all 5 states. Right? So, right, there's a blackout. It's fucking freezing as fuck right now. You've got little kids. Where are you going to be shivering in your house? Right? Like, what are you going to burn? Like, Seasoned Hardwood was like, I was listening to that Ragnar survival guy from I think he's from Melbourne. And he was saying that he had a list of like 100 things that will run out first, and Seasoned Hardwood was one of the things. And I was like, he's fucking right, because everyone's going to want to you want to hoard your timber, right? That's what original people do. That's what people that live on the land do. Like, they have a different value system about what's important. That money, if it crashes, that fiat shit you got in your hand, it'll be worth something for about a month, and then people will realize it won't be worth anything. So up until that point, people will still exchange it for stuff until people realize you can't do anything with it. It has no value. Silver and gold are the only things that have any value. Those are the things that I would be looking at. If I was to look at a long-term strategy from here, I'd be trying to acquire silver and gold.
Yeah, no, I agree. It's something I've been saying myself, actually. So
gamble in Bitcoin and then buy silver and gold. That's my. You can actually make fucking money and bank in Bitcoin by chance, like not Bitcoin in general, but just crypto, and you can have a dabble. But yeah, like the only thing that's the stable thing is that, and the world will come around to that'll be a point again.
Yeah, I don't think people understand, hyperinflation and how close we are to it. And
tell them about that. Explain hyperinflation.
Well, I look at a country like Zimbabwe that's already been through it, and their dollar means shit. Like, so, for instance, someone over there that back before they went through hyperinflation, for instance, they had like a couple hundred grand in their bank in the Zimbabwean dollars. All of a sudden, literally overnight, that was no longer meant shit. The dollar was nothing. So that 200 grand you had in your bank was worth zilch. So
what would happen, ladies and gentlemen, is like you'd go to buy a loaf of bread and it was $3 the other day, but today it'd be 30. The next morning it would be 3,000. Right?
Yeah.
This is legit. $3,000 for a loaf of bread. Then what are you going to do?
No, it's nuts. It's nuts.
Guerrilla buckets is another thing, yeah. Like learning how to grow food in ways where it's sustainable. Like you can sustain yourself.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Me and my brother started a veggie patch at our parents' place because they're on 5 acres or so. And that was the best thing we did last year, man. Like we just reaped a massive harvest from it. And like it's something everyone should be doing.
You're learning it too, right? You're
Yeah,
learning it. And
absolutely.
that's the
Yeah.
mad thing. It's like you're getting the experience of like, this is how much my yield is, which is your return, how
Mm,
many things you get back to eat, right? You need to know how big your patches need to be. You need to know how to grow efficiently. You need to know what works together. You need to know how to look after your soil. This is all stuff you
mm,
can't YouTube when there's no YouTube.
that's right. Yeah. Yeah. The old ways of life are lost, and um, yeah, like people don't want to put themselves out there to learn new things. They just want to watch a 5 minute fucking YouTube video and learn it that way. But you're right, bro. Like we're getting to that point where these things aren't going to be accessible. We're going to have to go back to our teachings and all that. And half the people they don't have these life skills. You know, it's a scary thought. But where do you see the rest of this year going? You know, obviously with the power outages and stuff, like, do you see it more heading in that way? Then they've done that cyber polygon as well, so you can probably see something around that is going to happen, like on a big global scale, maybe. And then you've also got this climate change bullshit that they're going on with. So, how do you see the rest of this year playing out?
Climate change is an agenda I'll just address really quickly. It started back in my early life as the ozone layer was what they were talking about. Then they
Yeah, that's
jumped.
right.
Then they jumped from the ozone layer to global warming, and
Mm,
seeing we're actually in a cooling at the moment, so they can't really talk about global warming, and they had to adjust numbers to justify things and move hottest days and all this sort of shit, right? So they've fudged a lot of stuff and been caught for it. Now they've moved it to the words climate change because climate change encompasses everything. And so by
mm,
doing so, they're going to be able to create climate refugees, climate crises, and climate lockdowns. And that's part of that leftist elite agenda. What I see for the rest of the year is I think we've had the lull during the start of this year. I genuinely feel like we're in the eye of the storm bit where it's a little bit calm, a little bit quiet. Like we were the worst lockdown country in the world. We've got that much fucking flu or whatever it is, seasonal, whatever, floating around at the moment and people being sick and under the weather that it's only a matter of time before we get locked down again.
mm.
You got monkeypox, you got this, that, like no one questions how all these things just come out of fucking nowhere and we're just bombarded with them, but forever ever we didn't have anything going on. Right? No one thinks that like they made SADS, which is sudden adult death syndrome, and no one's correlating it to anything else that we did experimental recently.
Mm.
Right? Same as women that have miscarriages, right? Alarming numbers, like off the chart numbers. Deaths at the moment, all the numbers in convert are going down, but the deaths in nursing home are skyrocketing right now, like off the fucking chart. It's 1 every 7 minutes, I think, or something at the moment, the number. It's
Ah,
crazy, bro. Yeah, like old people are fucking going. Like, if you think about it, right? These people that run this place, the world, the thing that we're in, they kill off all the people that don't pay taxes. You got a useless level that's just draining resources that they like, right? They can make money off nursing homes, yeah, but at the same time, like that whole category needs to go. You get rid of them, you put more stress on the next level down, right? There's no grandparents to mind kids. There's nothing else like that, right? These people are already like fighting tooth and nail. That's our age, right? We're fighting tooth and nail to keep our head above water with keeping a job, doing something that satiates us, looking after our family, right? You've got the pressure of lockdown. You've got the pressure of the economy stuff going on. All this stuff's going to put pressure on the family unit. Then you've got like all the shit where they're trying to gender blur everything. Then you've got all the 5G shit that got ushered in. There's a lot of things right now, and I said in previous things that like everything's the murder weapon, right? The fluoride, the fucking the chemtrails. Break that one down for me, brother. Explain this to me. You fly a plane, it costs money to fly the plane. You have to pay a pilot a lot of money. You have to use jet fuel, which is expensive. You have to use a payload, which is expensive. You have to use a plane. all these things cost money. Who pays for all these things that are the lines in the sky?
We do.
We do, right. But no one blinks an eye like they're not there.
No. Well, that's it. Like, the lack of discernment and critical thought is just very scarce. There's only a certain amount of people that have, the ability to discern. It's really scary. It makes you think, like, are half these people even human, or are they just that fucking brainwashing? Like you said, we've just had a complete number done on us, and it's been ongoing for so long now. They've just been at war with us forever, poisoning our water, poisoning our food, our air, everything, and then programming us in a certain way exactly, programming us for a certain way to think, people just can't break free of these things because they've got their own problems. Most people are wrapped up in their own head. They've got relationship problems, family problems, whatever it is. They just don't have the time or whatever to discern, to look outside the box. It's going to be very interesting because there's a rude shock, even for a lot of so-called awake people. I don't think they understand what is actually coming.
By default, we're optimistic. I think people are optimistic by default. I think a lot of people scared me when they were just happy to get on with it.
Yeah.
When everyone just said, like, when the government just rolled it all back and said it doesn't matter, I'm like, you wouldn't let people out of their houses, out of their areas if they weren't double jabbed, right? You've still got billboards over freeways in New South Wales that say, get boosted, right?
Yeah.
This thing's been proven not to work. There's NCIB data that's come out now. That's like a medical journal like publisher. So they basically come out and give you all information about side effects and different stuff about different drugs. Excuse me. And they've brought out a paper saying that, like, all the stats for COVID were like a lie. Right? They've actually come out and said that, like, it's legit. None of this adds up. There's no relationship between the way that the government's handled things and what the virus was. There's like so much disclosure now about what's going on, and no one's even batting an eyelid. They've all gone back to normal, and they're just they don't realize how imminent the next thing is. Is like, how do you get to 2030 and know fucking nothing if at 2022 we're all still like, oh yeah, we own houses. The fact is you don't own a house. The fact is that your deed and your title is not in your possession. It never will be. And you need one other document. I can't think of the name of it off the top of my head, but you need 3 things to literally bind a property to you, and you don't have them and you'll never possess them. They've taken and digitized all land councils or all title councils. So you can't get that stuff now. You can't. You're going to see a massive land grab. You're going to see a shift, a big shift sooner than later. They've militarized every police force. In Australia, we've been at war for a couple of years now. They started shooting at civilians indiscriminately from 50 yards.
I know.
Right? That's war, bro. That's internal conflict. That's like, you can't. Absolutely. Something that has a 3% chance of killing someone, a rubber bullet. Matty Lawson's still having internal injury issues from getting shot in the guts. While he was laying on the ground, the officer proceeded to fire another bullet. In his live video where you see him hit the ground with his phone, you see another one ricochet and the dust come off the fucking tarmac.
Fuck me, dude.
Yeah, this is the world we're in. And people are like, yeah, I just want to go to the pub. I was like sitting in a pub the other day. I don't rarely go, and I just entertained a mate's birthday because he's a really good friend. And I was like, people got double jabbed to come here? specifically for that reason, right? Like they literally got modified just so they could go back to that place.
It's insane. It is
No offense to
completely
anyone.
insane.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, and it's like, do people forget, like the normies I'm speaking about, do they forget about all this shit that's happened over the last 2 years, or they just don't care? You know, they're back at their pub, doing what they want to do, so they don't care, you know.
I think they think people that are free thinking like us or independent of thought of a system are either crazy or we're fixed on it or we have an issue or something. But what they don't understand is that they were psychologically tortured for 2 years.
Yeah, absolutely. And everyone knows too, because everyone's supposedly had COVID, but you haven't, because it's never been isolated. They test with a fraudulent test, whether it's the PCR or the rapid antigen tests. They're all fucking fraudulent. And everyone knows it's nothing. It's just a mild flu or whatever. But yet, you know, they fucking locked you down for 2 years, you know, didn't let you go and see grandma, didn't let you go and do this and that. But no one cares. And they've had the fucking COVID now. Like, they know what it's about. They know it's not deadly or anything. And it's like, what they've done, how can you think that's justifiable? Like, but they don't care. They just don't care.
Four newborn babies died at the South Australian border because of a technicality about them crossing.
Fuck me.
Right? Like, if you go back and find all the little bits, it's disgusting the amount of carnage, bro, that came out of this thing, and no one's paying for it. Like, Gladsy should have a head on a fucking chopping block. Every premier should be, like, crucified for what they did. To let 4 babies die at a border? What the fuck is wrong with you, fucking people? Your imaginary virus, yet Kerry Stokes can fly to Canberra, right, for the Anzacs, and then ScoMo has the hide to tell you stand at your auto bin at the end of your driveway. It's hypocrisy.
I know, mate. Think back to some of the incidences like that occurred over the last 2 years too. Like, remember that guy in Victoria? He got arrested for wheeling out his bin to the end of his house, and because he didn't have a mask on, the cops came past and arrested him. Like, this is Australia. This is meant to be the free country. Like,
not so free.
Oh, it's unreal, eh?
First they take your guns, and then they take all your freedom away. And then whatever happens next is whatever happens next. And if you research history, you'll see what happens next, and it's not good. And basically every country that has it happen is genocided upon. In history, forever, ever.
That could never happen out here, though, bro. Not to Australia, not to the lucky country. Like, and that's just how they've set us up. Like, you know, it's got that.
How do you take like 30 shots and they're all headshot fatalities? How do you shoot from your right hip as a left-hander? How do you have better marksmanship than any ever Olympic gold medalist? Tell me. And you're a guy that has the mental capacity of a 12-year-old. Tell me. Yeah? Why is there a purpose-built morgue truck in Tasmania on that day? Tell me. Right? These are all factual things about these things. Why is there a 90-year gag order on that by John Howard, the same person who did the 28 pedophile list? Right? Why? It's disgusting what we're upon. And everyone's fighting over silly stuff and separating families because of medical apartheid and stuff like this. And we're all not realizing that these elections and having a different people in parliament now isn't going to mean shit for us. And I hate being doom and gloom. Like, my life is not focused on any of the negative stuff, but we have to address it. We have to call the elephant in the room.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. You can't just turn a blind eye to it, like a lot of people do, you know. It's like, oh, yeah, I'll just go and meditate in the corner and turn a blind eye to that, and everything will be fine. Like,
You can't
doesn't work.
namaste your fucking way out of this.
No, no, that's yeah. Me and Mitch have been trying to get that across recently because yeah, I see a lot of people like that. They just they think, oh, if it's not in my reality, it's all good. It's like, but this world is your reality, you know. Like you're in it, and like I always go back to like, how can you do? How can you just leave your brothers and sisters? Like you hear a lot of people want to just run off and go and start their own communes and all that, and it's like that's not going to work. Like, and how can you just leave your brothers and sisters out there? Like it's
I was
yeah,
always thinking that, how do you escape? And then I realized you can't. You got to break it, and we've got to break it with
absolutely.
like logic of like, for starters, like, what are we standing on, boys and girls? If you can't actually look at this thing and truly understand and understand what the fuck's going on, you need to sit down and take some time. You need to actually go and observe. You need to go and investigate the things you don't understand and you've taken somebody else's word for it. Because we are on a special place and there is significance to it and there isn't scarcity. If you realize that all these markets and everything else that you're gambling and working your whole life on mean nothing and will be reduced to nothing soon enough,
Mm,
you will fucking
yeah,
see.
100%.
We're coming to zero, guys. Bitcoin,
Mm,
everything eventually will come to zero.
mm. And yeah, like Nate said, like we're not all doom and gloom. Like I've had a few comments lately, um, you know, on previous videos and all that, saying, you know, you sounding a bit doom and gloom there, bro, and shit like that. And it's not. I'm not. I'm one of the most positive people you'll meet. Like seriously, but you've got to make people aware of this
Be
information
stoic. Be
and
stoic in
what's
your
to
thoughts.
come.
Like, prepare for
That's right.
fucking, prepare for the worst and wish for the best. Right?
Yeah.
And set it all to fucking God and just let it be, right? Do what you need to get ready for being like the most responsible person you can be in your life. That's all it is.
Yeah. 100%. But I think things are gonna have to get a whole lot worse to wake a lot of these normies up. Um, and for us, it can be very frustrating and that because I've obviously been awake for a while as you have yourself, but we just got to be patient and know that it is coming. But yeah, it's going to be you know it's going to get a hell of a lot worse. Going to see a lot of bodies drop from this fucking experimental jab, amongst other things. Like if these power outages and food shortages come, like people are going to die of starvation, neglect, warmth, all these sorts of shit. Like yeah, like you said, if that power goes out up here where I am here in the Blue Mountains, mate, it is absolutely freezing at the moment. It was
Yep.
-7 the other night,
Yep.
and like people are just going to die. It's
It's
going to be
crazy.
insane. So yeah, like I don't want to be doom and gloom, but unfortunately, this is the reality that we're faced with at the moment. Um, but the positive message I like to put across is that we, after all this, we are going to come out the other side. We are going to win this. The human spirit, there's nothing stronger than it. There's no stronger force than love in this universe, and we'll win this. It's just going to take time. It's just got to go through this process. But yeah, it's there's no doubt it's going to get hairy before we move into this new era.
I think we're it's going to harden us in a way. I think we're
Yeah.
coming towards a time where the whole point of now is not preparing for things for the end of times, but it's like, how do you start to make a better system? Like, both
Mm.
myself and yourself are doing podcast stuff and things like that to communicate a different message, to get a different voice out there, to have another medium for people to be able to interact with it in a way that gives them some sort of authenticity to what's going on. And I think
Mm.
that these times now is all about, new ways to exchange energy, right? So you might get healing off someone and you might not be able to pay them with fiat. So you pay them with Bitcoin, or you might, barter a service, right? Or give them something. There's lots of different things, or make them something. So there's lots of different things that are sort of coming forward. And I think now is really just about being intelligent with your time and who you spend it with, and trying to heal some of those wounds as well, like within the family unit in particular, and people that you care about. Like, don't leave any stone unturned with trying to help someone that you care about. Don't walk away from people unless it's setting a healthy boundary for yourself. Like, really, we just got to start to pick and choose who we want to be around and what we want for the future.
Yeah, well said. Yeah, like, and you can't. I see a lot of people will just, a certain family member is taking the jab and going along with all this, and they've sort of just disowned them and stuff. And it's like, no, they're not all lost causes. People are still going to wake up after taking this jab, and you just keep being humane to them. Don't lose them traits. Like, you've still got empathy and compassion. It's important that you're showing it, even to these people that aren't showing it to us. Be the bigger person. Like, I see so many people with that eye for an eye mentality. It's like the eye for an eye makes the whole world blind. Like, we got to get
It's
out
easy
of
to
that.
go there. It's easy,
Yeah.
but like it's a reaction, right? It's primal. There's something like, there's a nice feeling of that thing that happens where you go a bit like that, but it's also too the quickest way to burn the earth.
Yeah. It's good, like, not to suppress what you're feeling or anything like that. If you're getting enraged by these things, you got to get it out. Absolutely. But yeah, it's just, once you look at the bigger picture, sort of thing. It's like, it's not worth it. Be the bigger man, the bigger person.
It's a low level energy. It's a low level vibration, right? Most things. Listen to this for a second and just play with the idea. You start off your day and you get out of the wrong side of the bed. You subsequently go throughout the morning a bit drudgy, a bit like pessimistic. You knock your coffee over on your keyboard, right? You get the fucking shits about it. You fucking chuck the glass. You chuck the mug in the sink. It breaks. You go to pick it up. You cut yourself, right?
Yeah, been there.
Where on that journey just then that I took you on, was it not about your attitude that made the situation worse? Right?
100%.
And the thing is that it's actually the predicated thing on it all fucking up. So what I try and flex on in my life is, every time things are turned to shit, I try and be positive. I try and fucking laugh at myself and go, like, if I cut myself at the end of something like that, I'd be like, that was fucking ridiculous.
Yeah. That's exactly right. It all comes down to your attitude, and yeah, no, 100%, brother. Like, you couldn't have said that better, eh?
Be light in your heart, man. It's how you got to treat your kids. Like, unless they've broken a fucking your urn of your mum's ashes or some shit, and even then, it's just, she doesn't give a fuck. All right, like, virtually no matter what anything your child's done, there's no reason to blow your top on them. And it's, how do we stop perpetuating that generational trauma that we got? Right? Where do we draw the lines with these things? Where do we heal? See, we heal the outside world by healing ourselves first. And then that creates the capacity for us to help others. And then in the helping of others, we clean up even more. And then we move towards what we're meant to be doing. We find our purpose. We go on our hero's journey. We fucking conquer. The whole world fucking melts together. We're all there fucking figuring ourselves out, but being open-hearted about it, and also having an open mind to welcome back onto the team all the people that got lost. And that's all we can do. Everything else is fucking up to chance.
Yeah, 100%, man. Yeah, that's exactly right. So true. I wanted to talk to you a little bit about your time down in Canberra, because
Sure.
for those of you who don't know, there was well, we won't call it protesting, but there was First Nation people and stuff camped out the front of the old Parliament House down there in Canberra. for quite some time too. He's been down there for a fair 3-4 months, was it, or even longer?
I think it officially kicked off in December. I started going down then. I basically went on a week holiday with my family, and then I decided that I had to go to Canberra, and I arrived for 9 a.m. Monday for like business. Um, the original people that I was friends with and had been interacting with on Facebook and Instagram had served notice on the government, a legal notice of to challenge of jurisdiction. The law relating to jurisdiction is that once jurisdiction has been challenged, it must be confirmed. This is a in court law, but it's still a law of what this realm is enacted under. For people that don't know, we operate under the UCC, which is the Uniform Commercial Code. All courts are military courts. You don't know these things. You're floating on a sea of fiction with your birth certificate and the way that they interact with your last name, your all capitals last name. It's actually a sign. It's a diglossic text, which is a forked tongue text, which is what this system does is deceive you. So that's a little viewpoint on where I came into why I was doing this. I actually learned the law because I lost access to my son purely because my ex-missus ran away with him, and the courts and no one else was very helpful about me getting any access to my son. So I realized that a lawyer was friends with the other lawyer, and they all kind of laughed. And I had the thought the other day of like, what happens in a courtroom is like, it's these people that are, so you're called an idiot if you don't know your name. That's what the word idiot means. When you go to court, you stand up for that name, you're engaging in that and putting life into that name, and then they contract with it. And it's like there's 3 people in the room that know what the game is, and there's a guy who's blindfolded in the middle, and they're just walking him through these fences around these legal arguments and pathways and avenues to get them to a point where they can take money off their name, right? So these guys are all knowing, and we're none the wiser. And that's what the legal system is. So I learned all this stuff about it, and I realized that when you put formal legal documents like a notice, that people have a legal obligation to respond, and acquiescence to respond is still it's a dishonorable response. So basically, by not saying anything, you are saying that you're at fault. The government in Australia didn't bother trying to answer any of these challenges on jurisdiction. What they did was they used force on the people that were in Canberra, pepper spray, physically tackled people, punched people, did things of that nature. This is all before the convoy to Canberra happened. So this is the first event that happened during December and went all the way through to the end of January. And then they, on the 24th of January, they picked up everyone's tents and stuff and moved them.
So what was it? What was the vibe like down there, though? Throughout, your experience, or did it change? And
it was beautiful.
Yeah.
So yeah, when I started down there, literally it was like playing guitar on the steps of Old Parliament House, kids sitting around a campfire, people with their dogs, people mingling and having a really like-minded, connected conversation. And it was a lot of people from a lot of different walks of life. There's a lot of terminology that's come out of it since then from the left, like calling people cookers and all this sort of stuff. But the difference between that and what took place down in Canberra on that first engagement with the police was we tried every tactic we could to negotiate with them in a reasonable way and explain that we're just like them. We go home to our families. All we want is justice. If there's a thing called first in time, best in law, and it's a legal maxim. And our government must answer to that maxim because it's an overarching maxim of the entire system, right? The same as we're all under the bar, which is a foreign agent, which is under the crown. And that's the way the legal system is structured in the world. And so when we go into this system, we're interacting with it. And so, these original people down there tried to challenge that. And what the government did was it used its backdoor with corporate Aboriginals to basically get them to sign off to have the people down there kicked out.
Wow. Yeah, and unfortunately, not enough people are aware of the true history of what happened to our First Nations people too. I done a
230
video.
years of genocide.
Yeah.
There's 230 odd plus years of genocide.
Mm,
They buried babies in the sand and kicked their heads off. Right? There's stories that have brought tears to my eyes that I've heard and never been able to forget. And I I urge anyone to realize that the original people of this land and all lands are actually a lot more intelligent and a lot more connected to everything than what any person is that was born of a system, and that
mm,
there isn't much connection anymore because of what they've tried to do to break it with all these people. But if you find people of the land, like, give them the opportunity to show you and understand where you are. Like, you never used to be able to just wander everywhere and take everything and move it all around. The way
mm,
their system works is like things stay in a place. So the firewood from here is the firewood from here, right? You take rocks from here and you build stuff from here with rocks, not carry them 500 miles. Like, they did that with their kids as well. So on the missions, they'd relocate you from where your song line was and your soul line, and they'll put you over here. And they'd take the guys from here and they'd put you where you were. And they'd switch everybody around. And then they'd
mm.
rape out the originals, their bloodlines. These are all things these people did to these people. And no one's ever like really owned up to that. And these people
No,
never ceded their sovereignty.
it's unbelievable. I done a video recently of a sacred Aboriginal site up here called well, it's Gargary is the indigenous word for it, which means the gully.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, actually they were living with white people and other settlers and stuff right up until the 50s in this area, until the government and councils and that come and kicked them off the land in 1954, I think it was, to build a racetrack. Like, and heaps of um, Aboriginal children were stolen, and the stolen generations, and like, yeah, it's. I don't think enough Australians are aware of the true history of what actually what went down in this country. It doesn't want to be spoken about because it's
Shameful.
fucking horrific. It is
It is.
shameful.
It is.
It
It's,
is.
man, when I heard that
But
they kicked the heads off the babies, I was like, I'm fucking done. Like,
no,
I,
no.
this is the thing, right? If there's an international law, it's international treaty relating to genocide. And if you are complicit to genocide by doing nothing or participating in it in any way, you're actually breaking the law, and no one can force you to break the law. So this government, unless it can confirm jurisdiction and it can prove that it's not a kangaroo government and a kangaroo court, then they have no standing on this land. And the thing
No.
is that this is why we know violence is absolute, ladies and gentlemen, because what they did in Canberra was they didn't try and answer back with legal documents or say, yes, we are, or whatever, or respond to the notice. No, they just brought people in and pushed you out of the way and called you all sorts of names, and then only brought the media down on certain days, certain times, infiltrated your camp with like police, like people that pretended to be like us. They put a spy camera within about 40 meters of men's camp on the second Tuesday. It just appeared out of nowhere. They had like 12, 15 cameras on it, license plate recognition. They went and collected our bin every day. When have you ever known of a tent embassy to have bin collection on the daily? They were going through the rubbish. They were using everything they could to try and quantify and understand who they were dealing with. I
Mm,
was just there with like original people who actually have paid attention and spent enough time understanding the law. And they're like,
mm,
I'm going to submit a document. And you might not think it's right or whatever, but if my law's overstanding your law, where do you fit? Like the Eddie
yeah.
Mabo case proved that you can't go into a court with your original name and they actually see you in the living, because they're in their court. You're not in the living, you're in the dead. So they made
Mm,
Eddie Mabo come back in as a different name to get a case, right? They showed you the truth. Everything is there in plain sight. Like this whole deception around our name, the birth certificate slave document. Like when people really understand this and you realize like this matrix is you are plugged in. You're plugged in from
Mm,
day one to for your mineral worth, for your earn. They will earn you, which is also the name of where you put your dead ashes, the whole
mm,
week until you get the weekend. And that's what we're
mm.
in. We're in a system where we're tricked into shit and they spell to you and everyone just believes it. If you realize what you were and realize where we were, we'd all stop working like fucking madmen and we'd actually start paying attention to what we need and what the whole place needs, the planet needs, Earth needs. It needs us to fucking change our ways. Like, if anything, over the last 2 years, it's taught you that technology is not going to save any of us. It hasn't made us safer in the last 2 years. It's surveillance the fuck out of us. We didn't get rid of any flu by doing it.
It's really just for instance, like smartphones, it's connected us, like it's connected me and you right now, and I've met
100%.
so many like-minded people through, Instagram and different apps and stuff, and it's been great,
100%.
Telegram. But yeah, it's disconnected us, hasn't it? Because like the real life interactions and all that it's I don't have as many as I did growing up, and the things that you did. Like I just think back to growing up and how different was life without a smartphone, without a computer, without fucking all this technology that we have today. Like you just know your mates were home because their push bikes were out the front, or if they weren't home, sort of thing. Like that. It's just like there's so many human traits and life skills have just been lost to this generation because of technology. It's really sad.
We were the last ones. We were that
Yeah.
transition when the
Yeah.
internet started, right? We were the transition. And that transition was crazy. Like, if you go back to dial up and you go back to fucking the first phones, it was compared to what we got now is like that fucking big clunky TV from the 50s or 60s and the flat screen, right? We saw
Yeah.
that transition with the phone in our blink of our life, the entire thing from start to finish. Well,
Yeah.
not finish, but where? Like, finish, actually, in our lifetime, you won't use a phone. So, yes, we will see the finish of the phone. It'll be like the CD.
Yeah.
We saw the start of the CD, ladies and gentlemen, and the finish.
Mm.
I didn't see the start of the cassette tape, but I saw the finish, right? Like, lots of things will die in our lifetime, and things that we thought you'd never get rid of, like a phone. You want to make a fucking
Mm.
bet? You wait to see some of the implants and wearables that they get you jazzed in on.
I think they're talking about 2030. They want to have. I think someone from the World Economic Forum said by 2030, phones won't be a thing anymore. It'll be just all implants and stuff.
It's redundant. The throughput rate on looking and reading is redundant. So
Mm.
they can do things where they'll fucking be able to project a fucking a hologram up in front of you, right? That'll be your TV while you're walking because it'll be a thing to do with your retina in your eye. And
Mm.
they'll have an earbud that's implanted, or that you'll wear an earbud, and that'll be a connection to the Wi-Fi, the 5 grid smart. It'll be probably like 7 grid by then, 7G, smart grid, and that'll be literally it. You'll go Spotify, play my favorite song, and your head will just start playing that fucking tune, right?
Yeah.
With probably the visual come up if you want it, and you can probably flick through it across the news and everything like that, and it'll all be the hand gestures that they've taught our kids relate to the interface that is now in us. There's a
Mm.
fucking prediction for you. I've been doing a
Yeah.
few of those. Like, I said we merged with the phone fucking long time ago, bro, because it's within an arm's distance of us at all times, right?
Yeah.
And most people, most of the time, I don't sleep with us in the same room as much as possible.
No.
It's one of those things like that I really choose consciously. But if we
Yeah.
really look at what's going on, we're already meshed with it, man. Like,
Mm.
if you look at your camera, it's taking photos, pulsing photos every 3 seconds or so. So it's constantly mapping the environment that it's in. It's getting distances to things. It's doing lots of different shit.
Fuck yeah, man. That's that's
They've got
so
a
true.
metaverse. They've got a metaverse already built in us. Like, it's
Mm.
been taking literally, like, I think it might work if you do it. Let me see if it does, if you can see it. Yep, there you go. Watch that. See how many photos that's taken, bro?
Wow.
So that little thing up there just keeps flashing on and off.
Yeah, yeah, I
Yep.
can see that. Wow.
That's photos, guys. It's constantly mapping its environment, right? It's constantly listening to you. It's using its haptic pressure sensors to tell when you get in and out of the car with someone else. It knows when you're jogging. It knows how long it knows how fucking fit you are. If you're a fat cunt, you can't run. It knows, right? It knows when you jerk off. It knows when you look. It's looking in the toilet all the time. It's looking at your kids when you don't realize it is. Just think about everything you do unconsciously with your phone around.
Mm,
So
yeah,
these
people
things
are
are like
so addicted to these
nefarious.
things. Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, people don't realize how addictive all, phones, and not just phones, other different things that they bring out, and iPads, and different gaming devices for kids and all that. Like, the kids are just absolutely fried playing their fucking Xboxes and PlayStations and shit. Some of them will. They spend most of the day on, like, literally fucking 20 hours of the day. On a hot sunny day, they'll be locked in their dark room playing fucking Xbox on the headset, chatting to people on the other side of the world. Like, it's just it's insane. Like,
It's
like
like a
right,
casino. They don't know if
fucking,
it's day or night anymore. They don't know. They don't know if it's day or
yeah.
night. They know nothing. Like, and the thing is that what it does, if you look at little kids, it actually brain damages you for the next 3 to 4 hours after you've used a phone
Mm,
or any device like a TV for a little child.
yeah, and like, the people just think like all these required safety studies and all that are done. Like, the safety study done on a smartphone is fucking bullshit. These things are frying you, and if you got it on you 24/7, sleeping, fucking,
Yep.
half a meter from your head or whatever, like, mate, it's going to be cooking you. And have a look at the symptoms of radiation poisoning. It's exactly like the fucking COVID and the flu. And I'm
Yep.
telling you now, most people, that's why they're getting sick. They're just getting fried.
Yep. They're a scrying mirror as well. If you haven't looked up what that is, it's
Mm,
basically a mirror they use. Black Mirror. Funny that show's called Black Mirror, right? All your
yeah.
LCD screens, your TV screens, your computer screen, they're all black mirrors. And that's a form of spellcraft. We're worshipping this thing. Like, a lot of people are, masturbating to their phone. They're doing lots of different things where it's like everything's a form of like energy exchange, right? You're constantly taking photos. Young girls are like doing fucking duck face, stupid shit to their phone all the time, right? All these people are so fixated on this thing. And then they've got filters, which fucks with your mind because the person doesn't even look like that in real life. And then they
Yeah.
start to want to be that identity as opposed to themselves. Like, it's fracturing off young people. They said that phones might actually be the thing that causes a lot of oh no, what was I reading the other day? There's something about younger girls going into adulthood earlier is going to make them brain damaged and have mental issues, emotional and mental issues. And I think that and the phone and everything else that we're doing is like we're setting that next generation up for fucking failure hard.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
It's
Just think what it would be like, though, growing up, always having a smartphone, not knowing life without a smartphone. Like,
I've got
and
friends like
that,
that, and it's fucked. They
yeah,
reckon they're fucking broken. They saw
yeah.
porn. They saw crazy fucking porn when they were like 7 years old, 6 years old, right?
Fuck. Yeah, man,
Shit like that,
that's
right?
hard.
It changed their brain. If you watch My Brain on porn or any of those websites, you'll actually see how fucking damaging it is. And it has
Mm,
got that energy harvesting fucking element to it, right? So there's all these things going on with kids. There's all these things going on with all generations now. And we're all a fucking test dummy for it because these things never existed before us. This is a
mm,
new frontier. The level of technology in your phone now is fucking off the chart, right? It's crazy and it's going to get crazier. So
mm.
these kids are addicted to these games because these games are worked out how to make me play you longer.
Yeah, no, that's it. Oh, we could chat for days, bro. Or at
Because
least
one thing
hours.
that interests me was that kids are actually buying Steam accounts, it's called now. So you actually, like, people are spending a lot of money on these gaming. And there's also now like people that make money professionally as gamers. So
Yeah.
there's a whole metaverse already happened now for
Mm.
everybody. So we're in exciting times, my friend. I definitely agree.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. Yeah, that's it, mate. Like it's going to be very interesting to see how the next couple of years play out. Um, because the longer, like I said, the longer this goes on, more and more people are going to wake up. The, the, the stronger the push gets, people are going to wake up. That they're going to have no choice. I see there's a lot of fence sitters at the moment. Just wait, because we're in this lull, that they haven't sort of gotten off that fence, but they will. They will once they push a bit harder. You'll see another lot of people, a whole heap of people wake up, and it's going to get to a point where we will win this. We will win, but unfortunately, it's going to get a lot worse before we get to that point, and we're going to see a lot of casualties along the way.
But if you
But
have a sunny day, enjoy it. If you have, if you
yeah,
have a moment that with your kids and it's beautiful or your partner, enjoy it. Like, and
absolutely.
remember those moments because
Mm,
that's going to be the difference when it's fucking freezing cold and you're trying to start a fire.
yeah, yeah, 100%. Any final thoughts, Nate, before we wrap it up, bro?
Live your best life every day. Be better than yesterday every day. There is nothing else. Like this life. Although we are eternal, although we've been here before, this one is this one's a spectacular one. It's a special one. It's like a fucking movie. Like, pay attention to it. Be excited by it. Find things that are different and have better conversations with people because there's lots of good people out there that you can learn from. There's lots of good people out there that want to share their part of the world. So find other people to enjoy their company. Thank you for your time, mate. Appreciate it, Josh.
Uh, no worries, bro. Thanks for coming on.
Right,
And where can people find you? You want to give yourself a little plug?
yeah, sweet, man. You can find me at the Higher Light Official, really long name on Instagram, heavily censored page, and at the Art of Heart _ on Instagram as well for the therapy page. And thanks again for your time. I also offer 45-minute discovery sessions with people, which is complimentary. If you're having a rough time, by all means, please reach out. I'm happy to have a chat with you and help you with whatever your situation is.
Thanks so much for coming on, brother. Really appreciate it. Love your
Cheers, mate.
work.
Thank you.
Love what you do. Keep it up, man. I know sometimes it can be a bit of a thankless job, what you're doing. But just know that it's really appreciated by myself, from Mitch. We love what you're doing, man, and we hope that you keep on doing it.
Thanks, man. I really appreciate it. And I'd like to have both of you guys together on my podcast sometime soon.
We'd love that, man. That'd be
Cheers, mate.
awesome.
Appreciate it.
All right, take care.
Thanks, Josh. You have a good
Hey
one.
guys, peace.
Cheers, mate. Bye.